when I learn about indigenous food, the conversations are very relevant to the ingredients or the cuisine. You know, now being an indigenous chef cooking indigenous food, I'm looking forward to actually going into detail as to how that ingredient is culturally relevant, how that dish is culturally relevant, how that cuisine connects to a culture. So that should take my understanding of indigenous food to the next level. What are we cooking?
Well,
Or tossing?
What are we tossing? This is just going to be so simple. It's just going to be introducing some of these herbs and spices. And look, because we're in this lovely location, you can't use barbecues or anything. So we've got just something I've prepared earlier, like all good chefs do. This is one of my favourites, and it's one I kept for last, and it's what I've encrusted on the chicken that I've poached. Now I want you to put this into your hand, Ravan, and I want you to rub that into your palm. You get all of these different flavours coming out of this. This is an amazing herb, but it has so many tones and undertones to it that when you keep rubbing it, it releases. You smell rosemary.
Yes.
You smell oregano. You smell eucalyptus. I use this for chicken.
I sense a little bit of clove.
Everybody has a different, you know, their senses are always different. People pick up different tones, but they're the 5 main and really unique, very different. I use it for chicken, encrusting on chicken. Use it for lamb. So it's great on lamb instead of the rosemary, and great in vinaigrettes and things like that as well. Okay, so what we've got here is lots of really interesting herbs and spices in Australia that Australians don't even know about, and I'm sure you'd be really, really interested in being a foodie and knowing, you know, what's out there. We've got some really interesting herbs and spices, but also some fruit powders or fruit that are dehydrated, so it'll give you a bit of a taste. Look, did you know Australia's got their own indigenous salt and pepper range? Here we have saltbush. Saltbush is very, very different. It grows out in the desert, but it also grows along the ocean. And there's 2 different types of saltbush: old man saltbush and grey saltbush. This is the old man saltbush. Take a pinch of that, put that on your tongue, roll it around on the roof of your mouth. We have our pepper leaf. Pepper leaf originated in Tasmania, and it is now on the mainland, up through the Gippsland, right over into Western Australia, and you'll find it right up on the east coast of Australia as well. Just take a little bit. That warmth that just rolls through your mouth.
So in India as well, there's a lot of tribal food that we're forgetting about, and you know, there's a whole tribal food movement. For example, in traditional Indian cuisine, there are only 2-3 kinds of mushrooms that are used: morels, regular button mushrooms, and a few others. But in tribal cuisine, there are more than 62 kinds of mushrooms that are foraged, which we don't know about in the mainland, right? And a lot of it is now being brought about at a time when the tribals are converting into mainstream, and that's the sad part, that it's happening at the fag end of the tribals converting into mainstream culture, and then we're realizing, hey, you know, this is what we don't know, this is what we don't know, this is what we don't know. So personally, it's great to see all this come out, because, you know, if it wouldn't, then you never know where it'd be.
Exactly. So look, we just got some white balsamic vinegar here to make this dressing. And we're going to use that lovely lime, the fruitiness of that. Going to use a little bit of the wattle seed, so we've got a little bit of nutty in there as well. We've got the sea parsley, we've got the mountain pepper, and the saltbush. But the big component is going to be the lemon myrtle, so that lovely soft lemon. Lemon here. With with these flavours, Ranveer, and what I try and do with the recipes that I've created is to not make it too hard for people to understand how to cook with these sorts of spices. Like I say to everybody in Australia, we embrace every other culture, food-wise, except what we have in our own backyard. And you've really got to start from the basics to really give people an idea how to use these things. It's just like if you're doing a Moroccan dish or an Indian dish or anything like that, you've got to put a little bit of research into it as well. Got some lovely bellissimo, they call them, tomatoes. Tomatoes, they're coming out in different flavours and ranges these days. These are lovely and sweet. They've got a lovely bite to them and pop. So really, really nice. I love these tomatoes. Just enough to smell that now, those flavours have started to rehydrate and they're all coming out there.
It's coming together nicely.
You can taste the lemon coming through. It's funny because I like to use the honey, which gives it a lovely sweetness. That's all it needs.
Beautiful. And no salt,
no salt,
pepper.
no pepper. It's just vinegar, the herbs. That's it. Just a little bit of chicken on top. Of course, you can put more if you want, but it's all about the greens and everything else. And then, of course, we just then dress it. And then just a quick spritz. That's it. What we have in our backyard in here is amazing. Chefs around the world are chomping at the bit to come here to use this because they can't get it in their own country. And if we can get it out there, it's a great economic thing, I think, for a lot of indigenous communities that do grow these, and it's a very important story for them as well.
Absolutely. Chef, it was a real pleasure in this beautiful setting right here at the Royal Botanical Gardens, Sydney. For me, I'm taking these ingredients back, and I'm also taking the spirit of bringing tribal food back in India again. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.